Hello folks, and welcome back to my channel. Spring has sprung, it is in the air. I don't know about you, but I am so excited for winter to be over. I'm so excited for the warmer weather, to get to be outside and go do stuff again. But I am not excited for allergies. I have had wicked seasonal allergies basically my whole entire life. It got a lot better when I was living in Florida, and then it got a lot worse when I was living in Nashville. And now I'm back in PA, and you know, it's pretty run-of-the-mill. But every year without fail, springtime rolls around, and I think you can hear it in my voice. I am congested, I am sneezing, I am just so allergic to all of the springtime plants and everything that comes with that seasonal change. And I just wanted to sit down and make a video for my fellow allergy sufferers because our piercings can go kind of haywire this time of year, and it can be really difficult to deal with. So if you have really bad seasonal allergies and your piercings, whether they're still healing or already healed, are getting grumpy with this seasonal change, let's talk about some of my favorite tips to deal with that. To start, I just want to let folks know that it is normal for piercings to get irritated if you're struggling with seasonal allergies. And this goes for piercings that are still healing, but also piercings that are healed. I feel like it kind of makes plenty of sense that if you have like whatever, a 3-month-old nostril piercing and you get really bad seasonal allergies and your nose is all like runny and stuffy and you're blowing it and sneezing all the time, of course your unhealed nostril piercing is going to get irritated, probably going to get a bump, probably going to feel pretty tender. Your entire sinuses are like in hell right now. So your nose is a part of that system, your nose piercing is a part of that system. But what tends to take a lot of folks by surprise is the fact that even healed piercings can get irritated with seasonal allergies. I personally have low and high nostrils, and most years when my seasonal allergies are really bad, one, if not both of my high nostrils ends up getting a bump for like a week or so at a time, whatever the like worst week of my allergies are. And I know it's coming because I'll wake up in the morning and I'll just feel all of my sinuses just absolutely swollen and miserable, and I'll wake up with like a horse kicking me in the head of a sinus headache, and I'll be like, sick, I'm gonna get a bump in like 2 days. And then without fail, in like 2 days, one of my high nostrils gets all bumpy and grumpy and irritated because all of my sinuses are suffering right now. And the same goes for a lot of other folks. Now, obviously, when it comes to this, nose piercings are really the big culprit, but they're not the only ones. If you're someone who can struggle with like rashes or skin irritation during the season change and is part of your seasonal allergies, that can affect piercings all over your body, especially if you're prone to dealing with that like behind your ears, that can affect stuff. Whether it's an already existing healed piercing that you've had for forever that's grumpy, or a piercing that is still healing, the best thing that you can do for your piercings is to try and manage your allergies. Because unfortunately, it really doesn't matter how good of care you give to your piercing while it's irritated if your sinuses are still all swollen or you still have a rash on your skin. Your piercing is not going to be able to get better until those things get better. So the best thing you can do is manage your allergy symptoms. Now, the number one way to do this is going to probably be with allergy medication. So figuring out what allergy medication works for you and taking that. This gets into nasal sprays, which is always the big question I have this time of year. My allergies are really bad. I want to use like a nasal spray, but I have a nose piercing, especially a still healing nose piercing. Like, what do I do? And you can still totally safely use nasal sprays with your healing piercing. I just suggest putting the spray nozzle up past where your piercing goes, which you're supposed to put it a little higher up in your nose anyway, so you're just kind of following manufacturer's instructions for the most part, and just spraying above the piercing. Some of that may run down and may get on the back of the piercing, but honestly it's not really a big deal because the piercing's probably already pissed off because of your allergies. So a little bit of nasal spray, not likely to piss it off that much further, especially if you're careful with it. In the same vein, a lot of folks ask me about doing sinus rinses with things like neti pots, and this is also totally fine whether you have a fresh piercing or a healed piercing. If the piercing is newer, I would be gentle when you're like putting the neti pot up your nose. Don't just like shove it up there and bang the piercing around a whole bunch. Put it up there very gently, and then whenever you're completely finished with the neti pot or the sinus rinse, give your piercing a really good cleaning. Make sure there's no leftover like mucus or boogers stuck on the inside, and just give it a thorough cleaning again on the outside too. Make sure everything is just really safe and happy. It may get a little grumpy from the sinus rinse, but overall, if sinus rinses for you are like super effective at helping with your allergies, the like momentary grumpiness on your piercing from dealing with the rinse is totally worth it for the long-term relief of allergy symptoms that are really the underlying thing that's causing your piercing to get angry in the first place. Another really big factor with this is trying to reduce your exposure to allergens that you know trigger your seasonal allergies. Most places do like pollen count warnings, and they post on the news, usually with the weather, when the pollen counts are going to be super, super high. So if you're like me, and I love getting outdoors, I love being outside hiking and kayaking, and just being out in the world, but my seasonal allergies are severe enough that I try and look ahead and see what the pollen counts are going to be like, and I try and plan my really outdoor days for days with lower pollen counts. Or if I know I'm going to be out and about when there's a higher pollen count, I wear a mask. I find that really helps reduce the amount of allergies that I struggle and deal with, especially traveling as much as I do. I go from like one region of biodiversity and plants to like a completely different one, and my poor sinuses get like nasal whiplash and just really struggle with it. So you'll just catch me walking around with a mask on, and it really does, I find that I don't deal with nearly as many allergy symptoms, and it really seems to be effective at helping me deal with pollen. But definitely look at pollen counts and see like what it's going to be like that day. Plan your picnics and your hikes and your outdoor stuff for times when there's lower pollen counts. That way you're not going to deal with as much agitation to your allergies. Pollen counts tend to be the lowest right after the rain, and they can be the highest at night or early in the morning. So keeping your windows closed during that time and just kind of trying to plan and structure your days around that can be really beneficial too. But of course, managing our allergies is all well and good, but that's really only so much when it comes to things being pissed off. So if you do have a piercing that's really grumpy due to allergies, kind of just treat it like it's a new piercing. Clean it with saline, be really gentle with it, try to leave it alone, try not to pick at it or play with it. I know that can be tough if you're like blowing your nose all the time, but just try and be gentle around the piercing, and just use a little bit of extra delicacy or care. Depending on the climate you live in, it's not a bad idea to reach back out to your piercer. If you're struggling with moisture irritations along with allergies, some drying may be beneficial. And if you're struggling with certain forms of irritation, some warm compresses could be beneficial. But this will vary person to person, client to client, and climate to climate. So get in touch with your piercer, let them know, hey, I have really bad seasonal allergies, and see if there's some extra care that they might suggest for your situation. Overall, having seasonal allergies suck, and I hate that my nostril piercings get so grumpy for like 2 weeks every spring, but I hope that by making this video and talking about it, I help others who deal with the same thing realize that they are not alone, and that that is very normal and frustrating, but not the end of the world. And again, just really focusing on managing your allergies and managing your allergy symptoms. Once your allergies improve and your nose is doing better, your piercing will be able to improve too. But as long as your allergies are running rampant, that piercing is going to probably stay kind of grumpy and irritated. Even with my bad allergies, I'm still really excited for spring, and I'm really excited to get outside. And with all of these tips, my spring allergies are usually pretty manageable. And again, I get like one bump every year on one of my high nostrils, and then we're just fine from there. So hopefully these tips help you do the same. As per usual, your support means the world to me. Please hit like, please subscribe if you like the content that I'm putting out, and I can't wait to sit down and chat with y'all again soon. Bye!